JobKeeper cost the taxpayer an eye-watering $25 billion. Who pays? It'll be my generation and beyond. And now we are roughly $1 trillion in debt. It's time for Labor to sober up, wake up and smell the coffee. These are the real economic issues we face now. We need solutions now, not a jobs and skills summit, especially not a jobs and skills summit which will have a predetermined composition of 30% unions and employees. This is despite unions accounting for less than 10% of the private sector workforce, an inconvenient truth for Labor and their union mates. Business types will make up another 30%. Who will they be? Probably the woke corporate types who seem more interested in virtue signalling rather than being productive. Experts, we are told, will make up another 30% of the summit. Yep, experts, whose predictions have more holes than Swiss cheese. And then the final 10% will go to the states and territories. We are told outcomes from the summit are expected to inform the Treasurer's first budget on October 25. Then there will be an employment white paper prepared by Treasury which will, quote, help shape the future of Australia's labour market, unquote. Again, why doesn't the Treasurer have any ideas on this now? Troy Brampston wrote in The Australian about this summit, quote, the Treasurer hopes participants will work cooperatively and with an open mind to achieve consensus on some of the ways forward on the critical policy challenges facing the nation, unquote. He then goes on about the objectives, which include, quote, keeping unemployment low, boosting productivity and raising incomes, delivering secure, well-paid jobs, expanding employment opportunities for all Australians, unquote. Look, you've heard enough. It's just jargon, non-stop jargon. But I've got a question for the Treasurer. How on earth do you plan to achieve even half of these things with the ACTU's Sally McManus sitting in the room? Putting her near the levers of power will cook us all. Trying to hang on to a bygone era where more than half the workforce belonged to trade unions, McManus is arguing that wages must keep up with inflation and social benefits and income support must be fully and promptly indexed to the actual consumer prices paid by recipients. When it comes to that submission, I think everyone in the room should politely say to McManus, thanks but no thanks. Such proposals would only fuel further inflation, not curb it. Pegging wage rises to elevated levels of inflation would lead to a wage price spiral, mixed with more interest rate rises. Labor say they want to maximise job opportunities and boost productivity. Why don't they start with tax cuts, putting more money back into the pockets of hard-working Australians? Get the pesky bureaucracy out of the way for business and industry so they can do their thing, invest and build. Urge state treasurers to scrap payroll tax, a fine for taking people off the unemployment queue. And what about introducing low tax, low regulation investment zones in parts of regional Australia, like Northern Australia, to promote growth? Let's build dams, pipe water and irrigate land to grow things. Let's invest in nuclear power so Australia has a reliable baseload power source to boost commerce and put downward pressure on electricity prices. And what about fixing the ballooning social welfare system and get those who are able to work back into work? You don't need a summit to get started on these things. The problem we face today is that politicians are obsessed with overanalyzing reports from experts, and therefore we keep missing opportunities. It's time to stop being sluggish and get the nation moving again. We don't have a second to lose.